So, Steve, passive income isn't as unachievable as it sounds. So, I'd love for you to break down what does the portfolio size need to look like to achieve certain levels of passive income?
Just to break it down, I'll put some numbers on the whiteboard here just so you can see that it is actually very achievable. So we're looking at sort of passive income goals here. So if you can see this clearly here. So to get 50,000 in passive income, depending on structures and tax strategy to buy in, just if you can build a $1 million portfolio, hold that for a cycle. Again, cycles 7 to 10 years, that will double and that portfolio size will be 2 million. So if you then divest that down, put into a term deposit, put into an index fund or commercial type asset, then you'll get 50,000 back in passive income if you decide not to keep scaling the portfolio. So just think about, most people will be able to construct a $1 million portfolio now, 2 units or like one property, one house in Melbourne, one unit in Sydney or wherever it might be. If we can just go through this chart here, I mean, the math kind of makes sense as we go up, but for here, to get 100,000 in passive income, we need to build a $2 million portfolio. Again, like a good broker can formulate a bit of a plan on borrowing power to look at kind of what you can do there. And then from a buyer's agency property strategy point of view, we can put you into the right assets to get into at the start of the cycle. That doubles to 4 million. Again, looking at tax strategy to divest that down. Obviously, we can't take into account all the specific variables that come into this, but roughly if you do have that 2 million equity to play with when you divest it down, 100,000. And if we go on like $3 million portfolio, $150,000. 4 million, $200,000, and so on and so forth. So the problem that presents now, sort of as you start stacking the properties and building the portfolio, serviceability becomes a bit of an issue. So it might be a case to maybe sort of sell a property down at some point and one step forward to go 2 or 3 steps backwards. But roughly that's kind of like the passive income numbers that you'd need to get if you're going on. So some of you, we get a few calls in, don't we, Jess, where people are looking at $1 million in passive income or so. You can see the size of portfolio that we need to get to be able to get to that. So we're looking roughly probably about an 18 mil sort of portfolio. So roughly, Jess, you told me about a few people coming on looking for that sort of $1 million in passive income. You can see once we've got to an 8 mil portfolio, hold that for a cycle, 16 mil, 8 million to play with, divest down, then we're roughly looking at about 400,000. Like even to get to an 8 million portfolio, the serviceability and a household income needs to be pretty significant to be able to hold that cost. And so it is extremely hard to get to 1 million passive without having a business or a really high paying job. And then with many years of constructing a portfolio on the side. So this is a really nice like schematic where people can just get a rough idea on what it takes to do. And it's not too much difference, like as someone who's hit financial freedom, and pegging this to CPI and inflation, take sort of like 100,000 to 200,000, on sort of living standards and what it's going to get you is not too much different to go into that 500,000, 1 million in passive income a year. So these goals are here to be attainable, and property investing and buying the right type of assets in the right cycle isn't that hard. And this is very achievable for most people out there.